Thank you. This is a great honour. This is a bigger event than I thought it would be. And as I say, it's great to be among people who do the same thing that you do. There are lots of people who are just starting out, which is great, and giving advice is always difficult. I remember working with the fantastic director Michael Apted, who was talking about working with, you get to a certain age and you're working with people who are much younger than you. And he said, this producer came towards me armed to the teeth with time. And that's exactly how it feels. It's like the people here who are just starting out, you've got time. We haven't. And I would say, I'm serious, and I'm saying, I would say to you, don't do what we did, do what you do. That's the main thing. Don't be too respectful, or don't think that you've got to do stuff that looks like stuff that's already been done to make it real. It's not real. It's only real if you want to do it. And people should be adventurous and should, if there's any advice I would ever give to anybody who's a writer, I would say, make sure your first 2 pages are like nothing anybody's ever read, because the people who are reading it are going to have read a million things like the stuff they always read. So be different and be bold. And that's not being reckless, actually. It's the opposite. It's actually making sure that your stuff will be understood. When I first started out, well, it wasn't when I first started doing film, I did a thing called Dirty Pretty Things, and it was the first time that I'd ever written something. When I write, I imagine it. I can see it absolutely vividly, clearly. And it was the first time when I'd imagined it, knew what it looked like, knew what it should look like, and then it was in the hands of a brilliant director, Stephen Frears, and then I looked at it on the screen and it was terrible. I thought, this is awful, because it wasn't what I imagined. It was before I understood that you'd imagine something, but the thing that came out was different, but different can be different better rather than different worse, and so you suddenly understand. And I remember seeing the first assembly, and for some reason some what they call tastemakers or opinion formers had been invited. One of them was Nick Hornby, who was sitting behind me, and I'm sitting there dying because I'm looking at this thing thinking this is awful. And the lights went up, and as the light went up, he either said, I'm misty-eyed or I'm mystified. Seriously, and I thought, well, my entire future depends on what he said then. But I think that anyone who's starting out in this industry, the industry is going to change. It changes all the time anyway. God, that's so different from when I first started, and change is usually good. And what I think is important for us who are here in this country, specifically, I'm a big champion of the BBC, as I think most people know, and I think the BBC should be strutting on the international television landscape with a great deal of arrogance. What other broadcaster had a good Second World War? We are the people who have a tradition and roots in this industry via the BBC. Last night suggests that maybe the creative baton has passed to us. Maybe it should be us to take responsibility now for doing the good stuff, because it's going to be a difficult 4 years. So I think we should be arrogant. Leonard Cohen said, the only thing you need to be a writer is arrogance and inexperience. And I think that is so true. In other words, we should be arrogant, and young people should be should use their inexperience. In other words, you don't know what you should be doing, you don't know what you shouldn't be doing, so just do what you do. I always feel, especially lately, there's a lot of reverence amongst people coming through. There's not a lot of, well, maybe it's not a good thing, but there should be a bit of rebellion, They should be telling us not to tell them what to do. They should be doing it anyway. Should do your own thing, because we don't know what we're doing. We've made a bit of a mess of it, and I think that the people coming through, what we need, in my opinion, is a new 60s. You know what I mean? Where the young people coming through just talk to each other. They don't care about us. who cares what we think? They should just talk to each other, develop their own stuff, go and do their own things. And from that will come some amazing stuff. So my advice to the young people in this audience is don't listen to my advice, basically.